Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am working on a Lazy Susan I'm going to do for my mom, and I wanted to show you from start to finish how I do these. So this one I got from IKEA. It's a 16-inch round. They run about $14.99 in the States. So check out IKEA. They have pretty good shipping too. I just ordered some charcuterie boards and they're huge, and I thought they were going to be horribly expensive, and it was only $5.99 for shipping. So that was really good. They have a nice spinner on the back, and it has a grip on it. So the only thing I do with these to begin with, before I tape them, is there's a little bit of an edge here. So I sand that down just lightly with I have like 220. You could use 150, 220. You don't want to use anything too heavy because you don't want to get too many sand marks in your wood. So just get rid of that edge so it's more rounded and the paint will flow off better. And then I tape them up. And I start in the center and I just lay the tape down on the edge, and then I smooth it up to the Lazy Susan part, the spinner part, and then I push it down and then go to the other side and push it down and then out. All right, so that's how I get my spinner. I tape the whole thing because just to make sure that you don't get this dirty. You don't want any part of this dirty. When you take the tape off after you resin, you want it to be super clean. And that's how you get it. So make sure that you are taping every nook and cranny that you can. Okay, so that's basically how I tape that up. I just keep going till the whole thing's covered. And then grab my scissors. I just use these utility scissors, and I pull the tape down a little bit and get those scissors right up on that edge and cut. And you want to kind of hear the scissors hitting the board, so it makes a nice, pretty even edge there. You can go in if you need to. I got a little bit of a dent there, so you can go in and fix that if you want to, but not really super necessary. Sometimes I'll pull it back if there's extra there and just go over it with the scissors again if you want to get extra picky about your line, which I usually do. So there you go. Much better line there. So that's all there is to it. Just go all the way around the whole thing, and then your Lazy Susan is prepped and ready for primer. And so that'll be our next step. Hey guys, I'm back. I forgot to tell you something really important. After you're done taping and cutting your edge, take your heat gun or your torch and heat up that edge of the tape, and then press it down really good along that edge. It just heats up the glue on the back of the tape and makes it really stick down really good. And so nothing gets underneath it that way. So really good tip. I don't remember who I heard that from, but thank you, whoever you were. Because it saved me a lot of heartache and grief when taking my tape off and having a nice clean surface underneath. So there you go. Well, on to the next step. Okay, so now we've got it sanded and the rough edge is off of here. I have the back taped, and so we're ready to primer. Now you can use a spray primer for this demonstration, and because I'm out of spray primer, I'm going to do it by hand. So I have Amsterdam titanium white. I have a whole thing of the Artist Loft Flow acrylic, but If you want to do it in one coat, it's better to use a better paint, a thicker tube paint, because then you only have to do one coat of it. If you use if all you have is the acrylic flow artist loft or a craft paint, that's fine. You're just going to have to do a couple coats. So I'm just making sure that I'm getting everything covered. You want to make sure that your sides are covered. Make sure that you go around and really secure your tape on that edge. The acrylic paint will help seal that tape down too. You're starting to see now why I charge $60 for this size. Sometimes $65, just depending on what it is. So there's a lot of steps that go into making one of these, but they are definitely a statement piece when you're done. And people ooh and on over them. So definitely something good to have at your craft shows, if you do craft shows or if you're selling online. You know, they really catch people's attention. So, okay, I'm just going over anywhere that seems still kind of transparent. I am using the titanium white. The titanium white is opaque. But you still have to make sure that you're getting good coverage. I'm going to try and get it as smooth as I can because I'm going to be doing a Dutch pour on this one. So I want to make sure that it's nice and smooth because the paint on a Dutch pour is thinner. And so you might see things, just little imperfections come through because your paint is thinner. Okay, I'm going to go around those sides just one more time to make sure that those are good and covered. This is going to be a surprise Christmas present for my mom. Shh, don't tell her. I probably won't release this video until after Christmas because I don't even know if I'm going to get this resin for her in time for Christmas. I might just give it to her unresined and then take it home and resin it. So it's getting pretty close to Christmas now. I did find a new resin that I'm really excited about. Keep watching. When I get to the resin part, I will share that information with you. And it cures so much faster than the other resin I was using, which I'm not going to name just to be fair, but I really do like this new resin, and you can get it on Amazon. So, and it's less money, but I'll go into all that when I get to the resining part of this, because I'm going to show you guys that too. All right, on to the next step. All right, guys, I had a moment, had to scrape, started over, got my canvas, or my Lazy Susan, sorry, hang on, I'm going to sneeze. Recovered with the base. The last time I had the base there was still too much paint on there, so make sure that you really tilt until it's really not dripping much anymore, because you don't want to have too much base with this technique. I also decided that I want to go ahead and do a little bit of a open cup for the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got my, this is just a green yellow that I mixed up. I've got my 3 greens here. So I'm just going to put those in. I've got a little bit of silicone in the mixture, and the mixture is pretty thin. I'm just going to wobble it around here. So the open cup, I just cut a little bit of the bottom off of a little Dixie cup. I'm just going to swirl it around. I just want it to come down on the base a little bit, so I'll be tilting some of this off too. Hopefully I have enough paint here. Okay. Then I'm just going to use a stick to kind of swirl up the corner here, the edge. Same thing over here. All right, and then I'm just going to tip a little bit this down this way. And then tip back up, and then we'll torch it. So hopefully where all that white is, it'll come back up. I had the camera down so you could see where I was blowing. Now you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's give this a torch. Let's get some of that green to pop up through that white. Get some more cells going on. Oh yeah, that's much better. And hopefully those will spread out and we'll get some more green in there too. All right, I'm just gonna go up a little bit with some tendrils, leaves and stems. And those will be the base of where I want to go with my flowers. All right, happier with that now. So that's just a little bottom. Okay, now let's try these flowers again. They did not go as planned last time. I'm hoping this will be better. Remember when you're dragging those up, you've got a little bit of silicone in there, so it can make your flowers a little wonky. So just be aware of where you're putting your puddles down for your flowers. It has been probably a year since I've done these flowers, so I was a little rusty that first time. I'm hoping that this second go will be a little bit better. And I'm definitely happier with having some green at the bottom. All right, now I'm going to go in. That was Rose by Liquitex. And then this is the Purple Color Flash. I like those two together. All right, let's give this a blow. Let me see. Can you guys see? There we go. Don't blow too hard or you'll blow the white up into the color. Just a nice gentle blow. Just going back in and making those a little bit bigger. All right. Much happier with those. I'm just going to go in and torch a little bit, and that just gives them a little bit of airiness to them. Get a little bit of little tiny cells in there. All right. Now I'm going to move on. I want to let those set for a minute before I might blow them again before I put the green in there, the green stem. So let's go in with the blues. So this is my, you know what, I'm going to add a little bit of paint to my light blue because it is just a little too thin. You want your paints thin, but if they're too thin, they're just going to sink into that white. So my ratio for mixing for these flowers is I use my bottle paint and then I thin them down and add a little bit of gloss varnish. I use Liquitex gloss varnish, but you can use any gloss, any varnish. And that just helps it from breaking apart when you thin them down so much. But you still want a little bit of a mound in there. You don't want it to be super thin. And my bottle paints are mixed with half and half paint and glue all. And then I thin with the Floetrol till I get the consistency I want, and they're all about a medium consistency. So, hope that makes sense. I want the pink flowers to be kind of the star of the show. So the blue and the purple are going to be lower than the pink ones. Lower down, if that makes sense. All right, we're going to go in. That was my light blue by Artist Loft. I'm going to go in with Prussian Blue by Amsterdam. And I'm hoping it doesn't do what it did last time by thickening up that light blue. The Amsterdam paints, for some reason, they're really good at lacing. And that's great, but it laced too much and I lost all the color on the last one. So hopefully that doesn't happen this time. Yeah, those look better. All right, and then we're going to go in with some purple. I think I'll do the purple flash first. I like the flowers to be kind of messy and lacy and organic, have an organic feel to them. So not everybody likes that kind of messy look, but I do. Organized but messy, if that makes sense. Okay. All right, I lost some of my color flash in there, so I'm just going to go in and add just a little bit. And blow those again. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with, I need to mix some more because I don't want to be adding silicone up in the leaves and stems. So I'm doing a mixture of Hooker's Green, which does not want to come out of the bottle. Oh, there it goes. Hooker's Green and Phthalo Green. I'm mixing them because I don't want, first of all, I don't want silicone up there in the stems. And I don't want, the Phthalo Green is not warm enough for what I'm doing. Plus it'll match what the green is down here. So, all right, I'm just dipping my stick in. Make sure you wipe it. And then I'm just going to go in and drag down just to give that main stem. And then always wipe your stick afterwards, otherwise you will bring the white back in to the piece. It's just like painting with a stick. And I will also go in afterwards and thicken up those stems a little bit after it dries. You can see how adding the stems just really gives them a finished look to the flowers. Also pulling down through the green bottom kind of makes those look like more like foliage at the bottom. Leaves and stems down there at the bottom. Yeah, that was better. I thickened up that light blue. It's working much better. And just really important to get enough paint off of the canvas when you're doing this. This would be considered Dutch pour flowers. So your mixture is going to be very thin and really important to get enough paint off of there. Okay. Just going to give this one more little, there we go. All right. I want to do just a little bit in there. Now, looks like they're staying pretty good. I want to make sure that you guys can see this. I'm just going to pull this out a little bit to make it look like a leaf there. And pull some of this foliage up. I'm also going to go back in and show you how to add leaves. Okay. And I think I want to add a few more. I'm going to change it up a little bit, the color scheme, just because I don't want to have too much of the same in there, but I want to add something in here, in this little blank spot, and then maybe a few over here too, because I don't like to have even numbers. So if I add some here, then that'll be 4, and I want to do an odd number. Oh, much happier with this one. much happier. I want to make sure that you guys see, you can still see. I'm going to give you a close-up when I'm done too of this. And then of course you'll see it when it's dried because I'll be doing the resin on it so you can see that. Oh, my mama is going to love this. This is her Christmas present. Although I'm probably going to have to give it to her after Christmas. Completely finished. I'll show it to her, or I'll give it to her and then she can give it back so I can get it resined. All right, so let's go. I'm going to do a little bit different here. I'm going to add a little bit of this, what is it? Basics, so Liquitex Basics Deep Violet, and I added a little bit of white to it, and I'm adding it to the Color Flash, just to deepen it up just a little bit and make it a little different from the other colors. So that's the color I've got here. All right. Okay, let's put just going to do a little stem here, not a lot. Okay, and then I'm going to add the pink. This is Color Flash Pink. And so I'm going to add just a little bit of that into this purple. This is a little bit thicker than the others for some reason, but you know, it happens. Sometimes you get, every paint has a different consistency, so. All right. One other really important thing when you're using your straw is make sure that you are using the right end to blow, because I can't tell you how many times I've ended up with white paint on my lips, in my mouth. All right. I didn't torch the rest of these. I'm going to give them a little torch. There's a torch. I want those to be really lacy because I just kind of want them in the background. And then I think over here, I'm just going to do a couple of the purple just to kind of balance it out a little bit. Yeah, I was thinking maybe the blue, but, or maybe I'll go with just the dark blue, but then there's too much blue over there. What to do, what to do. Yeah, I'm going to go with the purple because I'm just going to do a couple. They may even slide off the edge a little bit, which is fine. I just want a hint of them over here so that we're more balanced out. And a little bit of the purple color flash. My dark purple, I don't know if I said that in this video. My dark purple is a mixture of Dioxazine and Prism Violet. With a little bit of iridescent medium in it. That is my favorite purple mix. Just going to give those a little bit of stem there. All right. Okay, yeah, that balanced it out good. Now I'm going to go back in and I may have to paint these in. But I'm going to go back in and give them some leaves. And what I do with the leaves is just kind of put a drop down and pull it out. Sometimes you have to go back in and pull it out the other way. Just like I said, it's like painting. You're painting leaves in there. So just think about what you'd want a leaf to look like. And I may, like I said, I may have to go back in and give those stems and leaves a little bit more definition after it dries. That one was looking a little wonky, so. I like those purple ones on the end that just kind of ended up with more of the darker purple. My green is sinking. All right, guys, this is just kind of going to be futzing around with this now. It's going to take me a while to just do some extra things here. But I think you pretty much got the idea of what's going on, and I'll definitely show you this when it's dried. I'm going to keep going with the leaves and just adding, putting back in some of the green stems. As it's drying, it'll hold the shape a little better, so if I just keep going over it. You know, don't get it too messy, but, and I may have to blow a little bit more on these flowers as they just collapse a little bit. So as it dries, you can just give them a gentle blow. Gentle, gentle. Light touch with these. All right, I'm going to flip this around because you guys haven't seen it this way yet. And I am also going to shut the camera off and I'll give you a close-up view of all the goodness that's going on. So happy with this, how it turned out. Much, much better. Just giving that top of that one a little bit more blowing. And like I said, as the white kind of dries out a little bit too, then they'll hold their shape better. Don't you just love that little blue flower there? Ah, so happy, happy little garden. All right, let me give you guys a close-up. Hold on. Okay, here is your close-up. I just love how organic that open cup gets. There's the star of the show. Isn't she pretty? Go all the way down. I'll be pulling some of those pieces, like those two right there, I'll be pulling those up to make them look more like leaves. Like that one I did. I just love that little blue flower there. So delicate. You can see now why these remind me of watercolors. I just really feel like I'm doing a watercolor painting when I'm working on these. And that green gold, when it dries, is going to have a really pretty shimmer to it. Ooh, I just love that piece right there. You can't get that with anything but an open cup. It really definitely gives you that organic, just showing you the edges, organic look to it. And it will dry just like that. All right, guys, I'll be back with the next step, which will be the resin. See. Okay, we're back. This was the resin that I was talking about. It's called Super Clear. And I think I probably have this upside down, but hopefully you can read that. So Super Clear, I got it on Amazon. And this was the gallon. So it comes in 2 half gallons. So what I did is I marked my cups. I counted up the lines. There's lines on this cup and it's clear. So I like to use those because then I can count up the lines and make sure it's equal because you're doing equal parts. The reason I like this resin is it dries really hard and it dries pretty quickly hard. So about a week after I did a trivet, I took it out to the kitchen and I put a 400-degree pan on it and no sticking and no marks. So I'm just really happy with this resin. It's also a UV resin. So I have both my cups here mixed up. I pour the resin in up to the line. I pour the bluish purplish one first because it's thicker. And so I want to make sure I get that measurement exact before I do the thinner one, because the thinner one is easier to match up. So if you get it a little bit over the line, a little bit under the line with the thicker one, then you're okay. Because the thicker one's going to not come out of the cup as well either. So if you have a little bit under on the thinner one, you're good. All right, so I have my 2 here. I'm going to put them in my red solo cup. I prefer them not to have the ridges inside the cup, but this is all I have right now. So, all right, so I'm going to put the thinner one in first. And the reason for that is you don't want the thicker one on the bottom. You can mix them in the same cup. The only reason I'm transferring to a solo cup is because of the amount that I'm mixing. Because I'm not only going to be doing the Lazy Susan, but I'm going to be doing some other tiles too. So you want to make sure you get all of that out of that cup as much as you can. Not as important with the thinner one, because like I said, it's going to be harder to get the thicker one out of the cup. All right, so there we go. And then the thicker one goes in. One thing I did find about this resin is once you have a big batch like this mixed up, get it out of your cup, because it will heat up. It heats up to cure, and just like my nail product does. My clients complain, my nail's getting hot. Well, that's why, because it heats itself up when you mix the two to cure. So I'm going to put I like to put my cup inside the other cup, just makes it easier to scrape and get the rest of it out. Make sure you get all that you can. The other important thing is this morning my house was about 67 degrees inside. So I had to bring in my little heater. You can either do it with warm water bath, or you can do it with like a space heater and just heat the resin up. Because it likes a temperature over 70 degrees. So as you can see, it takes a lot to get that thicker one out of there. I probably could have warmed it up a little bit further. All right, so I've got my resin in there. I'm going to stir, scrape your stick, scrape your sides. Very important to do that. I'm going to look at the clock and make sure. You want to stir this for 3 to 4 minutes. And I time it because it seems like it's forever. But so make sure you're getting that 3 to 4 minute stirring time. Try not to stir too vigorously because you don't want to get too many air bubbles in. I'm going to scrape these sides down just because of the way this cup is. Make sure you scrape your sides, scrape your bottom. Make sure as you're stirring, you're scraping that bottom to get everything stirred up. Okay, now I'm going to take this stick out. And I'm going to get a clean stick. I just like to do that to make sure that everything is getting mixed equally. You might have some spots on that stick that are still not both of them mixed up. So I like to put in a new stick for the end of my stirring. All right, and that's all there is to it. Get it out of the cup as quick as you can. If you're going to be adding colorant or anything to it, get it in smaller cups and then it won't get hot. It's just the larger batches of it. And again, that product is called Super Clear, and you can find it on Amazon. It's a great value for how much you get. And it works great. And it works great on tiles and coasters and anything you want a hard resin on. All right, guys, we'll be doing the next step for you here in just a second. Okay, guys, we are ready to put this resin on. I'm just putting my gloves on. Make sure you always have your gloves on. I've stirred my resin for 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm just going to pour a puddle of this in the center and let it spread out. Make sure that whatever you have this on is level. It's not always going to be completely level, but you can tell by the way it's spreading. All right, and then I'm just going to move it around. Not going over the edge, I'm just pushing it out to the edge. And this is my system that I've worked out for resining. These are just my steps that I go by. So as you're watching this, you can jot down what they are. So I just move everything out to the edge. Doesn't matter if you're doing a coaster or a trivet or whatever you're doing. And make sure that it's covered. Got a good coat on everything. Okay. So we've got everything. It's good. I'm going to scoot this over because I'm going to be resining that in a minute too. All right, so I've got everything covered on the top. Then I just go back with my stick and I do the sides and just let that run over the sides. If I'm doing a trivet with corners, then I'll make sure I drip that that stream over the corner really good. This new resin, if you're careful with it and you make sure you've got everything really good and covered, one coat is fine. But if you don't get it, if there's imperfections, you know, in it on the first go, then you might have to do a second coat. But it is thick enough to do one coat. So I'm just going to run my hand. Wherever you feel resistance is where you don't have resin. So everything should be slippery. And if it's not, then you just need to put some more on there. Okay. And I can already tell I did not wash the section with silicone. So I may have to put a second coat on this one. It may not accept the resin down here. And that's no big deal. You just sand it and go again. I showed my mom already, so she loved it, of course, because she loves flowers. Okay, I'm just going over the sides again, just to make sure that I got enough on there. All right, so I'm just going to look at it, and before I take my gloves off, make sure that it's good and coated, which it is. So now I'm going to remove my gloves. So step one was with your hand, moving it over the top surface. Step two was getting your edges really good. Step three, torch. And 4 and 5 and 6, torch. You want to make sure that you've gotten all the bubbles out. So after I torch, if you kind of get down and look at it from the side, you can really see the bubbles popping, and make sure you got everything. All right, then I just let that sit for a few minutes, probably 10 minutes, and then I go back in. In the meantime, I take my skewer, because I like these because they have a long reach on them. So I just take that and run it around the edge to get my drips off. And I will do that a couple times before I put it to rest or put it to bed. So after I torch 3 or 4 more times, make sure there's no fuzz or hair in them. Then I put them over on my shelf, which I have a piece of plastic covering, and leave them there do not touch them for at least 12 hours. It's really hard. It's hard for me, but try not to touch them for 12 hours at least. 24 is better. And then after 24, if you check them before 24 and you need to do another coat, if you do it right away, you don't have to sand anything. You just can do it within 24-hour period. So that's it for your resin. It's that simple. You're just going to keep torching. Don't get too close with the torch or you'll burn it. Just go over it. You can also use a heat gun if you don't feel comfortable with the torch. And that's it. So I will show you this, and we'll take the tape off the back and show you what to do at the back when it gets done. All right, guys, we're back for the finale. This is the grand finale. She is done. As you can see, beautiful coat of resin. 2 coats of resin, actually. And I might not have had to do the extra coat of resin, but I forgot that I used silicone down here, so I had some pulling away. But as you can see, it second coat takes care of that. So it's beautiful. I'm very happy with it. All right, so now I'm going to show you removing the tape and how to get it off of the board, the easiest way that I have found. So I'm going to get the bulk of the tape off. It usually doesn't come, you can see how it's ripping at the edges. So just get the bulk of the tape off. This has been a huge undertaking doing this video. I was splicing all of the other videos that I've done. It's taken me about, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks to do this video. So yesterday and the day before, I was splicing all the little videos together. But I'm glad I could do it for you guys and show you all the way through. So now you have pretty much what's just on the edge. What I do at this point that I found to be the easiest way is, let me see if I want to make sure you can see that. So I use my torch. You can use a heat gun also. Be very careful if you're using a torch. You don't want to burn this. You just want to warm up the resin a little bit. And you're just doing a little section. So I'm kind of far away. I'm just warming that up. All right, then I have my X-Acto knife. And I'm going to go in and push through that. Can you see where the X-Acto knife is coming through? All right, and then I'm just going to push through. You don't want to pull up, directly up on this. You can pry it up a little bit. But if you keep pulling, you're going to pull that up from the wood. So you want to cut along that line is what you're going to be doing till it won't give anymore, and then you've got to heat it back up again. But that is the best and the cleanest way to get off your tape all the way around. All right. So you're just going to pull up. Sometimes you can get it, it'll come off without having to do all that. but you usually get stuck somewhere along the line. Just reheat it. Once you've got a starting place, it's easier to get underneath there and pry that tape up. Because all you're trying to do is get the tape off where you resin. And you can see as I'm going, after I heat it up, it comes off pretty easily. So just keep going along. Cutting along that edge so you get a nice clean edge. Okay, after that's off, then I just take my 220 and sand lightly along that edge just to get it smooth. If I have any paint that got on there, I just smooth that or sand that off. And then at the very end, I'm going to use, I bought on, I think on Amazon. Let me get the bottle and show you. It's a food grade mineral oil. And so I'm going to use that as soon as I get everything off and get it, I'm dripping a little bit, get it sanded real good, get everything off, get the label off. Alcohol helps take the label off. Then I'm going to wipe all the wood parts, the bare wood parts with the mineral oil where you've sanded. It'll make it all pretty and smooth and shiny again. So that is it. That is all there is to making a beautiful Lazy Susan. And these sell very well. People really like them. I usually sell them for, this size I sell for $60. Because this is a bigger one. The smaller ones I sell for $55, and then if I do an in-between one, like a 14-inch, then that'll be $55. So they do pretty well at that price point here in the States. All right, guys, that is your long, very long tutorial. Sorry about that, the length of it, but hopefully you've got some good tips and pointers, and it'll help you with doing one for yourself. Maybe start out that way. Do one for your own home. The first one I did for my home, I didn't realize you had a primer. It was an IKEA one, and I didn't primer it, and it really warped bad. So I still have yet to do one for my house. You guys take care. Have a great week. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you for all my loyal people for being here. And welcome to all newbies that have come to my channel. I appreciate your subscriptions. You guys have a great week.